everybody, it's Molly from Revived Roots Farm. Today I'm showing you how to make the flakiest, tallest biscuits you've ever seen. Now, I have experimented with so many biscuit recipes only to be completely disappointed. I have found a couple secrets that really make a difference in getting those super tall, fluffy, decadent biscuits. And today I want to share those tips with you, and I also am going to share my favorite recipe. So first, I am going to start with 2 cups of all-purpose flour. I prefer organic flour. Then I'm going to take some sea salt. I do 3/4 teaspoon. Next, I use aluminum-free baking powder. My favorite is Bob's Red Mill. I find that the quality of Bob's Red Mill baking powder is far superior to any other that I have tried, and I've tried a bunch. And you want to use aluminum-free because aluminum's not good for our bodies, first of all. And second of all, there really is a taste difference. I have made the same recipe with regular baking powder with aluminum in it, and I have made it without aluminum, like the Bob's Red Mill, and I have found that the aluminum does leave like a metallic taste in my mouth. And so I always go with aluminum-free baking powder. This is 1 tablespoon. And then I do a tablespoon of raw sugar. I like raw sugar because it still has a couple of the nutrients in it versus white processed sugar. And then we're going to mix that together. I just like to use my hands. I use my hands a lot in baking. Mix that together really well. And then the first tip to getting super fluffy, flaky, high biscuits is to use super cold butter. I'm going to cut that in with a pastry cutter. If you don't have a pastry cutter, don't fear, you can mash it up with your hand. This is a pastry cutter right here. It's I actually use it to mash potatoes and things like that too. But we are going to cut it in to look like large granules of sand. If you don't have one of these, you can, like I said, you can use your fingers, or you can also use a grater, and you can grate the butter in so that you have small flakes of butter, and then you can kind of work it in with your hands. I don't really like that method. I have tried it thinking I would like it better, but I find that the butter tends to get super soft, and for this, you want your butter to stay as cold as possible. Okay, so it will look something like this. And then my next favorite thing to do is add kefir instead of buttermilk or milk. I find that this makes the biggest difference. I have made this same exact recipe, only swapping out for regular milk and only swapping out for or using buttermilk instead. And I find that this making biscuits with kefir makes a superior biscuit. So we're going to do 3/4 of a cup of kefir. We're going to make a little well, and we're going to pour that in. And depending on the moisture content in your home and how your flour reacts, you might have to add a little bit more kefir just to kind of get it going. I just do this with my hands now. But so if you're unfamiliar with kefir, it is a fermented milk product, and I actually used to make it, and I loved making it at home. I just haven't invested in more kefir grains. But basically, it almost tastes like a yogurt drink. So it's real tangy. And it has good probiotics in it. It's very easy to digest. And for some reason, it just makes a great biscuit. It's a wonderful substitute for buttermilk because it does have that tangy property just like buttermilk does. And see, my biscuit isn't coming together quite as well as I want it to, so I'm just gonna pour just a tad in, maybe about a teaspoon at a time. You don't want to overwork this because you don't want to compact the dough. Okay, it's almost coming together. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a little flour, dust it, and I'm going to pour all of this. See, I have a little remnant, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to incorporate it in here. And this, guys, you cannot skip this step, okay? While I'm doing this, I am gently folding the dough in half, pressing gently down, and then I'm rotating it and doing it again. So this is what creates those flaky layers that you see in those commercial biscuits. With every turn and fold, I'm making another flaky layer. I like to do this about 10 to 12 times, and then if I have loose dough, I like to put it in the middle and do it. Put it in as I go. Okay, so now I'm going to flatten my dough out to about a quarter to a half an inch, just depending on how I'm feeling today. And I don't use a rolling pin because I don't want to work the dough like that. I'm just very gently patting down. I want those layers to stay separate inside my biscuits. And then I use a very sharp biscuit cutter. This one's a 3-inch. You can use whatever size you want. I like to use the 3-inch because I find that it makes a really, really good size. You can see that thickness. It's about as thick as my fingernail is. I like to measure like that. I'm a no rules kitchen from scratch cook. I think that experimenting and doing your own thing in the kitchen is the best way to go. So we're going to start on the outside. I'm going to press down. I'm not going to turn. Okay. We don't want to seal the biscuit. And then when we turn the dough and we seal those air pockets. So what we want to do is we want to get a sharp, very sharp biscuit cutter. You can use a cup. I know that a lot of people use cups and things because they don't have biscuit cutters, but the problem with using cups is they're not sharp, and so when you push down, it seals the outside, and so it can't rise as high as it could if you have a sharp one. So when we don't have any more room, you can see those super flaky layers. And I like to cook mine in a cast iron skillet, a well-seasoned cast iron skillet. I find that browns them most evenly. I like to touch the biscuits when I put them in. So when I put the biscuits in, they all are touching. I don't like to leave any space between them. And now we are just going to do that process again. I'm going to fold, 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 not as many times. I might do it about 4 or 5 times. Okay. Push down. A lot of times I will double this recipe and I will freeze whatever we don't want to eat that day. So after I double this recipe, I have a recipe that I can just pull out of the freezer. It freezes very well, and you can cook these from frozen. You can prep these on the weekend, and then during the week you have a quick breakfast. You can just pop in the oven while you're getting ready, and you can grab it on your way out. Okay, so I always have a little dough left, so I just roll it into a ball and pat it down, and the kids fight over who gets that one. It's so funny. I chose a little big cast iron skillet. Usually this thing would be completely filled, but you see how they're touching? Usually all of them are touching, and then I have 1 or 2 in the center. I'm going to put this in the oven. I already have my oven preheated. It's preheated to 375. I'm going to put that in the oven for about 15-20 minutes, just depending on how my oven wants to act today. And then I'll get them out and I'll show you how beautiful they are. I just took a bite of the biscuit, and they never disappoint me. They are beautiful and flaky. Oh, they were just perfect. I love mine with some jam and butter. Well, thank you so much for stopping by the farm today to bake biscuits with me. I so enjoyed my time with you. Now, if you enjoyed this video today, please give me a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel, where I share all things about homesteading, natural living, and real food from scratch. I really hope to see you back soon.